What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Bobby Fi here, flying solo, but I'm going to go through my plays. This is a really weird slate with a lot of information that we still don't know about. Like, you have one of the most popular players in the slate, maybe the most popular, Brandon Ingram, who may not play. That's sort of going to be so. I've talked about this a lot in terms of strategy in NBA in the past, and it's a good time to be a reminder on slates like this, especially like for me. I don't love the 7 o'clock game all that much. Don't get me wrong. If you wanted to play Embiid at low ownership, I have no problem with that. The Anthony Melton, Kelly Oubre. I actually think Oubre is probably my favorite play in that earlier game. Oubre or Melton, probably. And then I think that if you could look, as I keep mentioning, the Anunoby and Podol looks like a good play projection-wise. Anunoby, Podol, Scotty Barnes, and somewhat Siakam, but I think if I was going to play anything from this game, it would be like a Scotty Barnes with Embiid on the other side, or it would be like or it would be probably like Anunoby or Podol and Oubre on the other side or something like that. But mostly I'm trying to ignore this first game. So I'm going to go through where we're at right now, and a lot's going to change if anybody's announced out or anything like that. So pop in and ask questions and thoughts as you get in there, but it's going to be really, really hard to analyze the slates without me saying the same thing. That sometimes the name of the game in the NBA is you have to delay until you get the information that you're wanting. We don't have anything that we think, unless we don't know about it, that we're waiting for from Toronto, Philly. We don't have anything that we're desperate to plug in as a cash gamey type of play from that game. So my advice would be to delay and give yourself the opportunity to pivot. For example, I prefer Oubre over Isaiah Stewart. If Jalen Duren actually misses, I prefer Isaiah Stewart over Jalen Duren. We also don't know about Alec Burks, which opens up more for Cade Cunningham, opens up more for potentially a long shot Jaden Ivey play, and it opens up more for Asar Thompson, as well as Killian Hayes. So all those guys become much better plays if Burks and Duren are out. We also need to know about Ingram on the other side. So whether he plays or not, McCollum, Hawkins, and Valanciunas are going to be three staple plays. I didn't set cores because there's so much information we're waiting on, but those guys are kind of there for me anyway. And three guys who I would have as my cores right now. But like it's really, really hard to figure out the slate without knowing this information. Because if Ingram's out also, I'm going to want at least three, maybe four. I already like the three from New Orleans. And I'm probably going to stack that game, which feels very stackable if we lose either of Duren or Burks. So, and even with those guys, I'll probably force in a play of Killian Hayes or Cade Cunningham or Asar Thompson or something like that if those guys play, because I just think that you want to get if those guys play and Ingram's out, I just think you want to have that game ready to have exposure. It's pretty interesting that everybody in Orlando looks like a good point per dollar play, and it's a pretty simple reason why. And it's just that they have a lot of mouths to feed over there. They've got a lot of guys who are similar in talent level at similar points in their career. Franz Wagner and Banchero are probably both better than 6,700 and 7,300 players, but that's where we're at right now. Wendell Carter he's projecting for 30 fantasy points. He hasn't scored over 20. I think he might have had 127 or something, or 29. But for a guy who hasn't hit a number when he's being projected for that number, should probably always cause a little, raise a little flag like, oh, that seems a little weird. Why is he being projected for more than he's done all season in this current role when they can play Banchero at the 5, when Mo Wagner is going to get run no matter what you do, and Jonathan Isaac should be playing tonight. So it's not like they need Carter to play a ton of minutes. However, talent-wise, matchup-wise, I believe in Carter. I just don't think that I'm going to end up with as much of that as people, as some other people do. I do want to run back because I'll get into Utah, and I like some pieces for them as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. My favorite piece, though, will be Franz Wagner on Orlando, followed by probably Banchero, and then I would probably go to either Fultz or Suggs. Always the wild card Cole Anthony play could hit. Always the wild card Mo Wagner could play really well and have his minutes increased. But I'm going to go mostly with Franz Wagner, little bits of sprinkles of the other guys. On the Utah side, I'm going to play Jordan Clarkson probably in all my DraftKings lineups. I think this is the game where we see the big Jordan Clarkson game. Unfortunately, he's going to be really popular, so fading him might be a decent idea. Taylor Norton-Tucker on the same team, lower ownership. And then the super low-owned play that might be worth taking a shot on would be Colin Sexton. But mostly it's going to be Clarkson for me and Collins as two staples. And that, boom, there's my sort of 5-man core to start. 3 New Orleans, 2 staples from Utah, which is why I'm looking for run backs in both these sides of these games. Naturally, I'm not finding myself getting too much from San Antonio. I might force in a little bit of the Sohan. I had him as a priority earlier. I don't think he's still a priority, but I think that he's definitely in play. And I think you could include Trey Jones in the mix. But if I had to pick one guy, it would probably be Devin Vassell. And I like all of these guys just fine, but I think I'd go with Vassell. And aren't we supposed to play? The one thing I can't get over in my head is Wembanyama. We've been playing at this price, and we know we're going to see ups and downs, and 60 fantasy point games from him this year. We're going to see 20 fantasy point games from him this year. But aren't we sort of supposed to play him when he's low owned on a small slate as opposed to a big slate when you have so many other options? So I have Wemby as sort of like an interesting, hey, that could be a differentiator in tournaments to get me different enough with my semi-chalky early builds on a 4-gamer. Wemby's a piece that might be able to get you off the chalk. The other favorite piece of mine to get off the chalk, and again, he's going to have some ownership, but not as much, would be Kevin Durant speculating that Booker doesn't play. And then, honestly, I actually like Booker a little bit if he does. But if Booker does play, I think the only one I'm going to go to actually would be Nurkic or Kogi. If we get official word, and probably not going to have official, but I'm assuming Booker's going to play as of right now. If he doesn't, all these guys are back to being great plays again. So if you're stacking, what are you aiming for? There's absolutely, Z, to answer that question, there's no rule to that whatsoever. It's always different. Sometimes a stack can be just 2 guys, one, but maybe it's like Luka and Jokic, though. Maybe those are that's your way of getting exposure to that game, and then you use value from somewhere else. So it really depends on the slate. And right now, it still depends on the information we don't have. So what I'm thinking about doing would be on today's specific slate, as of right now, I would go 3-man New Orleans, 2-man Utah, and then I would try to find at least one piece, probably Wagner from Orlando and from Detroit. I actually think maybe just going with Cade Cunningham and speculating is the right thing to do for now, but that's waiting on information, because that means if Ingram's out, I want to play this as it's going to be a close game. I want to play Cade at least, and probably I would throw Isaiah Stewart into the mix as well. So maybe for that game, I could see as many as 5, but it depends on whether Ingram plays or not. In the Utah-Orlando game, I probably don't want to do more than 4 as of right now, just because they have a lot of healthy bodies. So I would probably take 2 from Utah, 1 from Orlando, and that would be pretty much it. I'm giving away the core stuff for free because it's right now, the cores are going to change. I'm not going to have time to update them. I can tell you what I'm doing in the premium Discord for any of our site members, but I'm not going to have time to update all my core plays. I don't know why I was showing Utah. Anyway, that's what is happening with Josh Christopher showing up there? I'm not really sure what that is. But you can see, SaberSim currently has Joe Val as the best point per dollar play on the slate. I like Joe Val a ton. I like the chalky guys, and it's fine. I'm going to play, again, you're going to eat most of this chalk. You don't have to eat all of it. You can find other places to get different. But I think that playing those 5 guys is a good start for cash on the slate as of right now. And I like the idea of trying to get to those stacks if you can, because I think those games have a chance. And I think that the Orlando-Utah game will have higher ownership if everything stays the same than the Detroit side of things will. So maybe force a little more Detroit in, just because the ownership, you can see the combined ownership for them versus Orlando. It's a massive difference. And the same is true for Utah as well. Obviously, New Orleans is the most popular. So do I like any bets? I posted my bets in Better Takes and in the premium Discord. So if you guys can find them, go get them there. If you're not, it's going to be those things. I'll throw out bets in here and there when I do it. We want to start catering to our paid members. There's some people paying a ton of money for access to our site. We want to make sure that you guys are that we're at least giving them something. So I will put a copy of where you can see my bets today for free, and you can go here and see them every day, most every day. But I'm always going to post them on our site, and it's going to be behind the paywall on our site. Right now, the other site I'm working with that does sports betting, I'm posting some on there for right now. So for right now, you can go to that Discord, and then reminder to the True DFS Discord. If you're not a member already, I'll put that in there. And remember, you can it's in the premium Discord, Dunbar. I'm looking right at it right now. All my bets are in the premium Discord. No problem. I'm glad you're paid. And I'm glad to have you back, Dunbar, my buddy, the guy who I say something nasty to, and then he says the nicest things to me. He's the nicest guy. Always good to have Dunbar back in here. So hopefully you can see it now. If you can't see it, I'll send it to you directly, but you should be able to see it. I mean, we should also make sure you have access to the premium channel. If for any reason anybody ever doesn't have access to the premium channel who's a premium member, please go to TrueDFS support and tag @scans. That's it. And then we'll be good. And Nick's in there. Good. All good. But yeah, I do have some bets today. The bets for those of you guys who haven't followed have been on fire this year. I've won a little over 80% of them overall. Yesterday was a bad day at only 4-3, but it's been unbelievable NBA wise. And by the way, it was a great year last year. About 60% last year. So pretty good stuff happening with the betting, the straight bets for NBA. And I usually like to do between like, depending if it's a small slate, I'd say 3 to 7 bets a night is usually where my bets are for basketball. Also do my football ones, which has had a really good year as well. So I would encourage people to check that out if they haven't already. I'm just going to take a look at Scott McCarty's question. Is it worth rostering a couple of spots from late games for decision making? Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm not playing the first game for that purpose, although I do have Kelly Oubre in one of my big lineups right now. But I'm going to specifically be avoiding the first game, waiting for news, because I still think this news is not decided yet, even though we've heard that it's likely to, and we've got probables and stuff. I just think it's flimsy enough to where I think you gain enough of an edge. And if anybody's out, you're going to be able to take more advantage of it than anybody else will. And I will keep going through in Discord and talking through what I like there. So I'm going to be doing a football show at 7 Eastern for the showdown slate. And I need to figure out my yeah, I see you, Scott. I got you. But yeah, I would be playing those later games, and I like them anyway. I mean, my core guys start at 5 p.m. I don't have a core guy before then. So I'm very, very happy to just wait for those guys and hope that the Philadelphia-Toronto game is both ugly. And the one thing that keeps going through my head, though, about them, like maybe if it's ugly, it's a big, maybe that Oubre, that spreads even more to Oubre. I just like the Oubre play. I thought he was going to be a little lower owned than he's going to be. I think that Melton is fine too, but Oubre and Isaiah Stewart is the guy, was what I was deciding between. The right answer is Isaiah Stewart because you're waiting to delay. The problem is I think Oubre has a higher ceiling than Isaiah Stewart does. And the truth is, if Duren is out again, well, we're going to go right back to Marvin Bagley anyway. And we're going to probably go to a little bit of maybe long shot James Wiseman. Hope he doesn't get 3 fouls in the first minute. Maybe Killian Hayes if Burks is out again. There's just a lot more we can have options of doing if we decide to wait. So that's my way of saying I'm probably going to end up touching on more of this NBA show during the NFL show because we'll have some information in. And please, guys, if you get any official words in while I'm on the show ever, we love it when you guys weigh in and let us know because we're not able to always check on that stuff. But differentiators is the other part of the conversation I wanted to have. So we've got the chalk guys. You see my core. It's all chalk. Last night I did, for what it's worth, I did have Westbrook as a core play last night, guys. I did say he was scoring over 50 against the Lakers. It was going to happen no matter what. And yeah, I know the game went to overtime, but the guy had 34 at halftime. Like, I actually am almost mad at myself for only playing 40% Westbrook. It seems like I should have played a lot more, but there was just a lot of good plays in the slate. Anyway, so who are we looking at who we can get different with? Let's go back to the value here and just see if any value stands out. Because I've got a few guys that are mentioned. Zach Collins, I like that one a little bit. I like the Sohan, and I like Wemby. So I think that's immediately. I already liked the Wemby thing I mentioned as a large, just a long shot play that could end up winning you the money tonight. But think about Sohan and Zach Collins to possibly spread out as well. Joel Embiid being low owned. Maybe you play the speculative angle with the value-ish pieces in the later game. Maybe you play Killian Hayes as a value piece. Maybe you play those guys in the 4 to 6K range. And you can afford to play Embiid at center. It's not like I love the situation, but he's 11-5. He's probably going to have a big game. And it's one of those things that's weird. Like if Harden was playing this year and he was just like announced out, Embiid would be like 70% owned, but no one's going to play him. So that's another good differentiator. Embiid. So I'm going to make my little list of the differentiators. To some extent, DeAnthony Melton. To some extent, OG Anunoby, unfortunately, in the early game. Anunoby. Kobe's, got some ownership. Herb Jones has got some ownership. Herb Jones is fine, even with Ingram back, but not like trying to get to him. Jalen Duren I like, but I think that Vassell, I think it's really these spurs that you can use to get different. And that's probably my favorite pieces to get different with on this slate, would be these spurs. One other thing I wanted to look at is it's interesting. The projections absolutely loved, what's his name early in the day? Podol. They don't really love Podol so much anymore. And I don't exactly know what's happened. I was going to fade it because of the back-to-back. But they seem to have been, it seems like the projections have evened out a little bit. I think he was projected to score like 34 fantasy points when I did my show this morning. 29 minutes, probably still good enough for Podol. So unfortunately, and Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is one of the funniest ones because this guy has scored over 45 points in every fantasy game, in every game this season. And he's 8,200 and no one keeps playing him. He's going to have a little bit of ownership. But again, if you think that game stays close, that's one thing you could do is play the guys I mentioned and try to squeeze in Scotty Barnes and Embiid on the other side, or maybe a Scotty Barnes and a Nubian Embiid. But overall, I think the right strategy is to fade that game. So I'd rather find the value pieces somewhere else. So let's see if we can build up a few more guys. Killian Hayes is another one we can get different with. Cade Cunningham is another one. He's one I don't even consider to be that crazy. And I actually like Cunningham quite a bit tonight. So Cunningham right off the bat is my favorite, I guess. But that's because I'm playing him and I'm also speculating on that game, and it allows me to delay and whatnot. I think Embiid and Scotty Barnes are both firmly in play as well. Joe Val I like, but if he's going to be that much more owned than Podol, maybe you get a little bit of Podol. Maybe you play Joe Val with Podol. That's going to be a little bit more unusual. Still be some people with it, but that's one thing you can do. We'll see about Brandon Ingram's health. Obviously, that's going to dictate a lot of that. Large field, Larry Nance Jr. is a differentiator. Dyson Daniels, if Brandon Ingram is out, is a good play. We just need to know about Ingram, really. On the Orlando side, really hard to find a differentiator because all of them have decent ownership tonight except for Mo Wagner. So I think Mo Wagner would be an interesting, hey, look, maybe that's one way you could do it. You play the Embiid and Scotty Barnes in the first game and you use Wagner in your utility spot. So that's something like that, or just play Wagner, in your utility spot. You use him as a forward, actually. He's not only center eligible anymore. I think Wagner is totally in play, and that's a way you get different on this slate. Jonathan Isaac is probably a little too much of a reach, but we've seen him score like 35 fantasy points in like 10 minutes before. Like he has a monster ceiling, even as he doesn't only play 15 minutes a game at most. It's hard to get different with the Jazz today. I think Walker Kessler would be my favorite, but again, you get that strong center position. I don't like him as much as the other two. He's going to have some huge games and some absolutely like, oh God, if not for him, I would have won all the money type of games. So nobody really makes enough sense for me on Utah to go to as a differentiator. I mentioned I like all of San Antonio as differentiators. People aren't going to be doing that. And that's basically true for Phoenix to some extent. I like Nurkic as my favorite play, but if you wanted to get different with it, playing Booker or KD, and maybe playing KD and speculating that Booker's out is worth it. And even if Booker plays, it's not like we haven't seen KD pay this out before. It feels weird for KD if Booker plays at only 700 less than Embiid to play him over Embiid if Booker plays. If Booker doesn't play, I have no problem playing Kevin Durant over Embiid there. So that's a rundown of what I'm doing. Again, Cunningham, my favorite differentiator, Cunningham or Hayes. That's again because I'm going to like that stack. I think that Sohan. I think that Wemby, Embiid, Melton, Anunoby, Mo Wagner. Those are sort of my differentiator plays today. I'm going to get out of here, finish my builds, come back at 7 Eastern, do a live show for football for probably 20 minutes. We'll probably touch on some basketball stuff because basketball will have locked by then. And then we'll bounce right back over. And then, Rody and I will bounce over and we're going to record for this weekend for football. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things happening. Guys, if you get a chance, please hit the like button. We really appreciate all of that. And, if there's anything else you have questions about, I'll give it another 30 seconds before I get out of here. But I think we're pretty much good and ready to go with the fact that we're really not at all ready to go. We just have to wait till 8 Eastern until we get starting lineups for Detroit, New Orleans, to where we can really make decisions. I'm just going to double check. There's nothing unusual in the starting lineups. And if we have any, we have nothing still. Yeah. So that's where we're at. It is interesting to note, like I heard some speculation about the Philly guys playing tonight. I'm under the impression that most of them are not going to play, but we haven't, again, I don't have official word on everybody. So let me just double check that I'm not missing something here. there's an outside chance that Covington, who's projected to play, could actually step right into a real role for them. That's something to think about. Really, he's the only one, right, who's going to play today. Can KJ Martin? I guess they might play him, but I don't know how many. And obviously, not enough for fantasy purposes. But Covington might be an interesting one you could use, but I just don't know if I want to speculate like that. Just keep an eye out for the starting lineups. I wouldn't be shocked if they did something funny like started Covington because he's played with these guys before, and then brought Oubre off the bench. It wouldn't change my feelings about Oubre one bit, but it would make me like Covington obviously a little bit. Oh, guys, yeah, James 3. Just go back to listen to the show. It's three Pelicans at least if there's no Ingram. But until we don't know about Ingram, the main thing of the slate, I'm not going to go through all the same things again because a lot of people listen to it, but is basically delay, basically not playing much in that first game unless we get a funky starting lineup, which as of right now we don't have. So waiting on that. We'll figure it out. I'm going to shut this down since that's somebody else's thing. I'm going to say thank you very much to you guys. You guys, we've got great content for all sports now. We're going to have some new NASCAR stuff. We're going to have some Sheets has got his tennis and LOL projections. The guy wins every freaking slate, not to mention mine and Rhodey and Sheets, football, basketball, baseball, golf, all that stuff. Brandon Ingram is out. Okay, so let's stay here a little bit longer. It's really not going to help to stay here longer because we're going to need a while for the projections to update and we still won't have a starting lineup. I just think you've got to get the first guys. They're going to be more out of the build. If Brandon Ingram, you got Ingram and Zion out, hard not to play McCollum, hard not to play either one of Dyson Daniels or Jordan Hawkins, hard not to play possibly Larry Nance now. It's really going to depend on the starting lineup. So I'm gonna wait. Actually, I'll probably talk about it on the basketball show, or I'll talk about it just with our premium Discord members because there's no way we can figure this out without having an idea of what their starting lineup is. If Larry Nance starts, it's going to be hard for me not to play him. If they let somebody else start, if it ends up being, it could be Matt Ryan. It could be Dyson Daniels, and then they go three guards deep because you sort of have three guards ish on the Pistons. It could be Kira Lewis, which would be kind of weird and out of the blue, but they have a lot of guards. You might see Matt Ryan start tonight. I will probably have some exposure, but I wouldn't go way overboard. Whereas if Larry Nance, actually, I think Larry Nance is pretty a strong play either way now. I think I have to put Nance on my list here. So we're going to have to wait to find out who's starting for that one. So it makes the first game even less desirable. So I guess that's something that we should account for. But I'm going to wait to finish my builds because my main lineups are going to have nobody in the first game or just Oubre. But I think even the just Oubre I'm sort of out on now. I think that I'm going to do the what's it called thing. We're going to do the Isaiah Stewart as a placeholder. Right. I have 300 to spend, so that's what I'm going to do. Import. Let's bring it in. And we've got Collins, Jovel, Wagner, Isaiah Stewart. There we go. All right. So I will update my builds for those of you who are true DFS members. And I'm going to basically have to cut this one off. Shoot. All right. Well, I like the build anyway. All right. So we'll do that. And wait. All right. So I'm going to play the waiting game. If you guys want to play it with me, anybody who's site members, fire in the questions. Make sure to tag me, and let's figure it out as soon as we possibly can. All right. Good luck to everybody today. Hope you guys crush it. And I'll see you guys in the premium Discord. I'll see you guys back for an NFL show in an hour, in 38 minutes.